Nam, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's video is a special request brought to us by a wonderful comment that I had on one of my previous videos. And the topic for today is sexual magnetism. And the question that was asked was, how can we enhance that sexual magnetism? And the question was actually a two-part question, with the second one being related to ojas, and how can we produce more of this sacred nectar? And so I want to split these two topics up. So today I want to discuss that sexual magnetism, and hopefully in the near future, not 6 months from now, like this video, but very shortly I'll produce another video regarding that topic of ojas, what it is, how we produce it, and can we do anything to produce more. So let's get right to it. What is magnetism, and more specifically, what is that sexual magnetism? Well, as you might guess, magnetism, in the sense that what we're talking about, is drawing what we want to us. And that sexual magnetism is, in my understanding, is instead of drawing a specific thing to us, we are maybe trying to attract somebody to us. And so what is this all about? And should we even be trying to do this? So, at a very basic state, this human form is an electromagnetic being. So we are magnetic naturally. Whatever we want in this life, of course, it will come to us if it is right for us. But some of us like to take, as we say, the bull by the horns, and we want to kind of wrestle life into submission. And I strongly encourage us to maybe ride that bull instead of fighting with it. Because life is much larger than this little body of ours. So if we start to fight with it and we want to manipulate it, then who knows what might go wrong. So magnetism, at the very core of that question, and I'm not saying the person is trying to do this. I'm not sure what their intention was behind the question. I think it's a wonderful topic because there's so much talk today about, manifesting. Oh, I'm manifesting my best life. Oh, it's so wonderful. And of course, I encourage everyone to strive to be their very best. But this notion that we can just manifest something is a very peculiar, because without understanding what we're talking about, from the outside, it seems that we can simply do something. We can do a little meditation or something, and whatever we want will simply come to us. The unfortunate part is there is a lot of truth to it. And this is why the messages are mixed up. Because like I said, this body of ours is an electromagnetic being. And so the state that we're in, the vibration that we carry, is without a doubt drawing certain aspects and certain situations, even certain people to us. But how this works is not so much on we'll say, on a desire basis. It's not that what we want shall come, it's what is resonating inside of us. And this isn't something that we can just choose. It's something that we have to work towards. this body, when we are still, has a very, it has a base frequency. So this body of mine is resonating, vibrating in a certain way. The same way the plant, the crystal, the mat, everything has a frequency, a resonance. Being a more complex structure, this resonance of ours is actually drawing other forms to us. At the same time, it is helping to repel other forms. And so instead of bringing a conscious thought into our mind and saying, I want this, bring me this, bring me this, what we should be working on is to strengthen that base frequency so that vibration is creating a harmony inside of us, not a disharmony. Because when there's health in the body, it will resonate one way. And when there's dissatisfaction or unhealth, we call it disease. It's simply dis-ease. So not an easy state, not a sense of peace, but a sense of turmoil, frustration, anger. We have many ways of labeling it, but ultimately, when we don't feel at home within ourselves, the body has a very chaotic frequency. And so, this frequency that is within us is naturally going to draw or place us in situations that are very similar to that vibration. So if we simply work on that frequency within us, if we work to create a state of harmony inside of us, then what we'll notice is that life, instead of it being a struggle, will become a breeze. And we can simply float through life, regardless of the situations that we find ourselves in, because even though when we feel very peaceful, yes, we cannot control what is happening around us. So even though we have maintained that peaceful state inside of us, there still might be turmoil around us. And in a very beautiful way, very wonderful human being by the name of Sadhguru, who I highly recommend that you listen to, because he has such wonderful things to say, and the way that he says it, the perspective that he brings, is extremely unique. Not that it's so different from what you might believe, but the way that he is saying it, I highly recommend that you check it out. And so what he is saying is that heaven and hell is simply whether we are willing or unwilling to do something. When we are willing to do something, even the most hard things bring us a sense of empowerment. We see that often through volunteer work. When we want to be there to help, it doesn't matter how tough it is that we're doing, we are empowered by it. We feel very good doing it. We feel joyful almost doing it, even if it's hard, even if it might be a little bit painful. At the same time, if we're unwilling to do something, it could be our favorite thing. It could be our favorite flavor of ice cream, but if you don't want it and someone is forcing it on you, I mean, that is a certain kind of hell, is it not? So this idea of willing or unwilling, we should become a willing participant in our life, and we should be willing to do those things that need to be done. This is not simply a mental exercise to psych yourself up into doing something. No. There's many ways of explaining it. But fundamentally, we have to take charge of our own life. And the way that we take charge is we must do what we can. Because if we're not doing what we can't do, that's not a big problem. But if we're not doing what we can do, I mean, that is a tragedy, is it not? And so in this life, we don't have control over what everyone is doing. We don't have control over the environment that we're in. What we have control over is ourself. And more specifically, what is happening inside of us. We actually have 100% control over that. You might say, well, what is happening inside, is that not influenced by what is happening outside? Well, if it is, then everyone around you can choose your happiness or your unhappiness. But if you take full control over what is going on inside of you, then you are in charge. And so once we become that willing participant in our own lives, when we take charge of our own health and well-being, then we begin to create that strong and pure vibration within us. It's not that we're creating the vibration, it is simply there. If you're alive, then that resonance is there. But the way that you resonate, the way that you are, should be 100% up to you. And when this happens, we'll notice that what comes into our life will always be that blessing, whether it's a challenge that we must face or an opportunity that we can take advantage of. And so that magnetism that we're talking about, how do we become more magnetic, or how do we become that resonance of purity or that peaceful state? And the way that it was put very concisely from a wonderful teacher whose name is Bhai Sahib by Harinam Singh Ji Khalsa. The way that he put it is that your frequency is like a radiance, and that radiance can be achieved or worked on through fundamentally 5 different factors. And in no particular order, these 5 factors are your physical health and body. When this body is fit, we feel more at ease within ourselves. That's the first. The second are these thoughts of ours. Depending on what we are thinking about, directs the way that this life of ours will go. So the thoughts that we have. The third is the food that we consume. Whatever we're putting into our body naturally will affect our health and the way that we think. 4 is our physical environment, the way that the environment that we find ourselves in, what that looks like. Although we cannot choose every situation that we're in, for a large part, it is our choice what environments we place ourselves in. So even though you might not afford a mansion and you cannot have your own koi pond and waterfall and be very tranquil in your environment, we can absolutely maintain the space that we have in a very pleasant way. We can choose to avoid certain situations. And finally, that last facet or factor that we have control over that affects that radiance or frequency of ours is the way that we breathe. To breathe deeply from that navel point, to create that steady bass rhythm for the body, because that breath is very much related to that nervous system. When we breathe long and deep, our nervous system becomes relaxed. We call it the parasympathetic nervous system. This is when we are able to heal, regenerate. When the breath is a little bit chaotic, sporadic, when we're not consciously breathing, it's very easy for this nervous system to switch over to what we call that fight or flight response. When the body becomes a little bit more tense, and in this response, the body, instead of healing, it is ready for an action. We're ready to either run away from something or we're ready to face it, to fight it. But when we're in that tense state, we're not calm. We're not able to heal or regenerate. And furthermore, when we're in that tense state, we begin to change the chemistry of that body, of this body of ours. And it's been proven. We can take a few minutes to look it up. But stress, quite literally, will create a poison within us. And that chemical, the chemical compounds that are created when we're stressed, are hurting us, especially when that stress is prolonged and consistent. So, remembering and focusing on these 5 simple factors, we can do a great deal to start to shift ourselves from that disharmony, from disease, back to a state of ease, pleasantness. And I know this video was about sexual magnetism in particular, but I want us to kind of release that notion, because this idea of sexual magnetism is really going down a very dangerous path. When we begin to use the areas of the body, the different energetic centers of the body, to achieve what we want, in a sense of gratification, not so much if we want spiritual enlightenment, we'll just call it enlightenment. But if you want to achieve something that is more, we'll call it earthly, then of course that body will match that resonance. And so at a very fundamental level, that sexuality is a fairly low frequency. And so what happens is, if that's what we are connecting to, then we're going to connect and we're going to enhance the very very animalistic instincts of this body. And by animalistic, I mean animals are very much operating on a survival basis. They're living their lives very much so day to day to simply survive. And they're moving through life, through impulses. When they are hungry, they will go and find food. When they are thirsty, right, they will find that water. When they're horny, they will begin to find the mate. And if this is how you wish to live your life, that is one thing. But we are much more than that animal. Because we were gifted with this human body, we have a duty to live up to that. Because this life of ours is much more than survival. Although until we achieve that survival, until we feel comfortable in our day-to-day life, of course it is difficult to look past those things that we need to survive. But what we know, without a doubt, is that survival is not fulfilling for us. Whereas that animal can go, they can find their food, and so pleasantly they can sleep and rest and be blissful. If you ever noticed, once you have achieved all the things that you need to survive, when we look deep inside of us, we still feel a longing for something. And sometimes it's this longing that we misrepresent as what we want. We feel that there's something missing in our lives. And so that mind of ours comes in and says, oh, well, maybe if I get this, or if I go there, or maybe if I'm with this person, that longing for something else will be fulfilled. But what we know is this is not true. Because to feel complete, we don't need anything besides ourselves. But what we do need is to explore that realm of consciousness within us, to understand exactly who it is that we are and why it is that we've come to this earthly plane. Through these questions, we begin to feel a sense of fulfillment. Because as we understand ourselves at a more fundamental level, we begin to know life in the purest experience. If we don't know ourselves, if we don't know this body, then how can we truly experience this life of ours? And so, this idea of sexual magnetism, we should simply just drop that word sexual and focus on the word magnetism. Because we are magnetic beings. But I encourage you, instead of deciding what you believe you want, simply focus on this human body, this mind of ours. Get to know it, to understand it. And you'll see that this body and mind will begin to work for you instead of against you. Instead of sabotaging what we want and this path, this life path that we're on, instead of getting in our own way, when we support ourselves in a almost miraculous way. It's not a miracle, it's a science. There is a method. But until we understand it, it looks miraculous. We will notice that as this body and mind become very harmonious, we become very healthy, that life will become very beautiful, and in a fantastic way, whatever it is that we want will somehow come to be. It's not that we're doing anything particular to get it. We are simply maintaining the state of peace, of joy, of bliss within this body. And through that frequency, that vibration, we are able to achieve everything and more that we ever wanted in this life. Now, this is, of course, more than just a philosophy. We must work for it. So, of course, in this video, we will do a meditation. And if you've already done some Kundalini yoga before, you'll know that before every exercise, we tune in. We center ourselves with a mantra. We call it that Adi mantra. And so before we do this meditation, this kriya, we'll tune in by chanting this Adi mantra. So I encourage you to maybe try it, whether we do it for the full time or not. I really encourage you to do this exercise because it will help to start to release the tension of the body. It'll help to purify the body by moving that lymphatic fluid. It'll help to calm the mind through the tension that we create in the fingers, because these fingers of ours are very much so related to different aspects and parts of that brain. And so let's come into easy sitting pose with these legs crossed. We can do this sitting on a chair. Just place the feet flat on the ground. And before we begin the exercise, let's tune in with the Adi mantra. Bringing these palms together, rub these palms together briskly now. This action helps to stimulate the circulation, creates a little heat in the body, and energetically, it will open up that heart center for us. Rub, rub, rub. And now just simply pulling these palms apart. Relax the shoulders, the face. And just simply begin to move these hands closer together and farther away. Become sensitive. Notice what you feel. Breathe consciously, feel your breath. And now bringing these palms back together again, thumbs press into the sternum. We'll tune in with the Adi mantra. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale again. Exhale. And we'll inhale to tune in. Inhale deeply. Gently suspend the breath, stretch the spine. Tip of the tongue, press it to the upper palate, eyes focus, crown center. Let this energy rise up. Gently exhale. Relax the palms into the lap. Relax the shoulders, the face. And let these eyes again focus to the brow point. Inhale deeply. Exhale. And so the exercise to help us with our radiance, our magnetism, is going to be called Breath of Fire with Lion's Paw. And so the way that this exercise works is that we're going to create like a lion's paw, really tense these fingers up. It's not like a little kitty cat where fingers are not just, are just curled a little bit, but really bring some tension to your fingers. Extending these arms out to the side. Inhale in this position as we exhale, crossing these arms over the head. Inhale to extend, exhale, crossing these hands the opposite way. And so we're going to begin this exercise. It's very powerful. So listen to your body. We don't have to do it for the full time, but just do the best that you can. Taking breaks as you need to. Let's go. Let's see what we can experience. Extending the arms out, shoulder height, tense those fingers up very tight. Inhale, exhale to cross. Keep up now. Stick the tongue out. Hold the arms above the head. Inhale deep. Suspend the breath. Stretch the spine. Keep everything tensed. Exhale. Inhale deep again. Suspend the breath. Tense the fingers. Stretch the spine. Last time, exhale. Inhale deep. Exhale, release. Very good. Let yourself relax and feel your heart center now. Let your arms either rest on the knee, Gyan Mudra, index finger, thumb tip touching, or arms are folded in the lap. Let yourself relax. And it's said that after this Kriya, that we should chant a very uplifting mantra. Hum me hum, tu me tu, wa hey guru. I am thy, in by myself, wa hey guru. Hum, tu me tu, wa hey guru. Hum me hum, tu me tu, wa hey guru. Relax the shoulders, the face. Inhale deeply. Exhale. And before, after, after any exercise, kriya, it's always wonderful to relax on our spine, lying flat on our back, to allow this body system of ours to integrate all the movements, to allow the energies that we've moved to settle before we simply move on with the rest of our day. This exercise that we did, breath of fire with the lion's paw, we did it for about 3 minutes, but we can do it for up to 9 minutes. So we can slowly build that up, building up that strength of the body, building up our electromagnetic field. But please practice with care, practice consciously, because we want these exercises to help us, to heal us. We certainly don't want them to hurt us. So don't force it, just feel it. And I hope that you experience this exercise and that this experience was beneficial to you. May you continue to heal yourself and to help all those around you so that together we may create a world of peace and prosperity. May the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Satnam.